And welcome back to redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd. I'm your host Mikey, and in today's tutorial we're going to be working on this fabulous boot cuff cover, and this is a pattern designed by my assistant Kathy Cunningham, and she did a remarkable job on using the corner to corner stitch as well as rib stitching in order to put everything together. This product is all about self-customization. What fits me may not fit you. This pattern is very versatile because you can play with the ideas and make this fit you without a problem. First of all, what we need to do is that we need to do the banding area. Make sure the banding area goes around your leg. We talk about that a little more in the tutorial, and where that happens is that you will do a seam line just like so. So you can tell because of the colors that I've used where the seam line is, and once you have the size that you want, you're going to want to come to the bottom section and finish it off to make it really nice and pretty, and then come to the top and do a little bit of rib stitching at the top to bring it all together. Now you'll notice that my yarn is really thin. You can use any size yarn, any size crochet hook, because it's about adapting this pattern to fit you. Today I've used the Red Heart Heart and Soul. This is a sock yarn available by Red Heart, and this product is as a combination of 70% superwash wool and 30% nylon. It's meant for socks. It's meant for wear and tear in the boots, and because of that it's really easy to use and really really quite stretchy, and it will have a long-lasting effect. You will be using a size 4mm crochet hook if you're following these directions exactly, and then that equivalents to just under a size G in US measurements. So again, the creativity is up to you, the yarn is up to you. Just have fun, sit back and enjoy your new boot cuffs, and you'll obviously need to make 2 of these for this tutorial today. So let's begin, and we're going to create a slip knot to begin. There are always slower tutorials available if you need it, and we're going to create a chain of 6. So just rotate and pull it through. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and now counting back, go to the 4th. So 1, 2, 3 and go to the 4th for a double crochet, and then double crochet 2 more times. And so 1 into each of the last 2 chains that remain. Getting started and holding thinner yarn like this always takes a little bit of practice, and so there is your first part. So let's move along to your next row. So here's where we are. Watch how I turn this. I'm going to turn it just like so, just like you would if it was a regular project, and I want you to chain up 6. So 1, 2, 3, and watch this. I'm gonna pinch right where I've done the 3. That is the first stitch that I want to go into, and I'm gonna go 4, 5 and 6. By pinching where I did, I don't even have to count back. I know it's the right stitch I want to go to, and what you need to do is put in 3 double crochets, 1 into each one of the remainder chains leading back to the main block. So 1, going into the next chain available. This will be how you always start a row when you're growing from the corner to corner. And so we come into our final. Just like so. So this is what we have here. We have this block, see how it's turned like this, and this one looks like this. What we want to do is fold it up. So just come up and go to the very last chain that you started with on this side, and go through, pull through and through. That's a slip stitch. So now you can see that this box here was originally like this, but now it looks like it's on its side because of the way that we pulled it. And now I want you to chain 3. So 1, 2 and 3, and now double crochet 3 times into that same gapping space. So 1, 2 and 3, and that completes that row just like so. So in the rules of crochet, this is what I call it. These each are a box, and so what I'm looking for here is 3.5 inches tall. So if you're substituting your yarn, just go about 3.5 inches wide, and then each one is a box. So for this size hook that I'm using and this size yarn, I'm gonna have 7 of these before I get to my size that I want to. So let's move along to your next row. To begin your next row, just simply turn your work again, and we want to start off exactly the way you did. So you're growing out corner to corner. So if you looked at it from this point of view, you're growing it out. And so we're going to chain 6 again. So 1, 2, 3, and pinch, because then that's where you can go 4, 5 and 6, and right where you're pinching is your very first stitch. So it's a double crochet. And just make sure your work doesn't twist. When it's smaller like this, it loves to twist around. It's when you get bigger, more finished work in your hands, it's easier to manage, I have to say. So you're just gonna double crochet 3 back. Once you have your 3 in, okay, you just gotta make sure you got it, looking at it from the right perspective. Okay, because this will always be facing down. And so we literally come up to the chain. So you have a block, there's a chain there, and we're going to slip stitch. And now 1, 2 and 3, coming into that same chaining area for 3 double crochets. So if you've ever done a corner to corner afghan, corner to corner scarf, anything corner to corner with this concept, it's the same as what we're doing right today. So 3. Okay, so you have another block now. You look for the last chain that's available at the very top. You slip stitch in and we create the final block to go on top. So 1, 2 and 3, and then coming in again for 3 double crochets. I love this yarn coloring. A lot of people really like funky socks, and this is a great way to be able to do it. So you're now finished that row. Let's move along to your next. To begin the next, simply just turn our work. We are still growing it out in both directions. So 1, 2 and 3, pinch, 4, 5 and 6. Right where you're pinching again is your first double crochet. 1, 2 and 3. So we're now ready to fold that block up on top. So we just pull it up and go into the last chain for a slip stitch. So last chaining meaning that gap space, and then 1, 2 and 3, and then in for 3 double crochets. So just look at this project like you're climbing stairways. So essentially you're going up the stairway. A lot of people look at it from a diagonal point of view, but you're actually going upward. So once you get your 3 in, we look for the next last chain going into the gap space for a slip stitch. So 1, 2 and 3 into the same space. For 3 double crochets. And that's got my 3, and then what we want to do is come into the next one, slip stitch again. So 1, 2 and 3, and we're doing 3 double crochets again. So how many blocks do we have on at this point? I'm looking for a total of 7. It doesn't matter if it's 7 one way or 7 another way, I just have to commit, so I have 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 3 more to go, so let's start on our next row. To begin the next row, we simply just want to turn our work, and again we're going to chain up 6. So we got 1, 2 and 3, pinch, 4, 5 and 6, and right where you're pinching is the first one of double crochet, and double crochet yourself back on the chain. And then we just want to fold it up and go into the last chaining space here, slip stitch, and 1, 2 and 3, and then 3 double crochets into the next, into the same gapping space, I should say. Just like so. Again, come to the next one up into the gapping space, slip stitch, and then 1, 2 and 3, and again 3 double crochets. Okay, next gapping space up here, so last chain. So 1, 2 and 3, 3 double crochets. I'm completely in love with the color scheme. There's so many different colors in the heart and soul that you can just really have a lot of fun with their color schemes that they have. So coming up to the last block that we have here, the slip stitch and 1, 2 and 3, and then 3 double crochets to finish. So that'll complete, and now I believe I have 5 blocks. I'm going to double check that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 more blocks to go before I'm finished off going for the height of the banding. To begin the next row, we simply turn the work again and chain up 6. So 1, 2 and 3, pinch 4, 5 and 6, and then where we were pinched just the first double crochet. And you'll notice that I'm starting to speed up a bit because I'm holding more of the finished product in my left hand here, and because of that fact that it's just easier to manage. So let's start the first one here. We pull out, we can see the gapping space, slip stitch 1, 2 and 3, and then 3 double crochets into that same spot. Okay, and coming up, last gapping space there. So 1, 2, 3, and then 3 double crochets. So the secret to this really is 3, 3 and 3, and 3 and 3 and 3. Just like so. Again, come up to the next space, slip stitch it in. So 1, 2 and 3, coming in, 3 double crochet, last gapping space again, 1, 2 and 3, and those are 3 double crochets, and then the final one here, and this will bring my total blocks I believe till 6. 1, 2 and 3. So I just have 1 more to go. So I'm doing 3 more double crochets to finish off this row. So I just got 1 more row to go before we have our total maximum. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Let's move along to your next row. So let's turn our work, and this is going to be the last row that we go in order to get the width of our band. So this is how we're going to start again. It's just again chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, pinch 4, 5 and 6, and then coming in where you pinched for a double crochet. So 1, next one, and the next one. So you see how the pinching really kind of solves you from having to count all the time. It's just really wonderful. Coming into the top. So it's essentially, you know what you're doing at this point. 1, 2 and 3. Just crochet yourself across. So when we get to the other side, this will be the final that we're going to be growing on both sides. We're going to stop growing it on the one side so that we can start going in a rectangular formation. If you stop growing it at both sides at the same time, then you'll end up with a complete square. So I'm going to show you how to manage that in just a moment. The wonderful thing about the Heart and Soul yarn 2 by Red Heart is that it's somewhat elastic as well. So it's meant for socks, it's meant for high wear. So you can substitute your yarn at any point to match your yarn budget or what you have access to. It's just that this is going to be in the boot area. There's going to be a bit of wear and tear from your feet in motion, from walking and etc. So sock yarn is really your best kind of yarns that you can use in order to prevent the wear and tear to your project. It really stands up really well. So you can see I'm really not even having to think about it. It's the corner to corner Afghans are probably the most popular thing of 2013 I've noticed, and it's because they're so easy and kind of mindless to do. And not that people are mindless, but the simple fact is that not that people are mindless, but the fact is that, you know, people don't like to count and go through the patterns like 100% all the time, but you can still create a pattern like this and not really have to think much about it and let the yarn do the work. So this is the final here. So we're now determined that I have my 7 across. So I can either decide that it's 7 this way or 7 that way. I just have to commit and go in one direction or another. Because this is a corner to corner, it won't matter how we grow it, because it's going to look the same either way. So in the next part of this tutorial, I'm going to show you how we're going to stop and just start growing out a band, and I'll show you how to do that next. So we're now going to start committing to it. So this is the final block, so I want to turn my work at this point, and I don't want to grow this anymore on this side, so I'm going to commit to no more growing on this side. So what I need to do is that I need to come into the first 3 stitches right in the end and just slip stitch. And what I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to get myself back to this beginning stitch over here. So I'm going to go to the first one, the second, okay, and then go into the third. And you're going to do that for every time you're not growing out. So what I want you to do now is 1, 2, 3 only. And because we're not growing out, we're no longer going to do that fancy footwork on this side of it. We will be doing it on the other side, but we immediately come into the chain space right here. The reason why when I did it here is that I never went into the space. You will have a really sloppy edge if you do so. So you want to make sure that when you count your 3 out, that it's going to be originating from the last group of the 3 here before it gets to this chain space. So we're going to be doing it like we were before. So just crochet across. So just go all the way across at this point, and we want to finish it right up into the top of this other block, just like so. So I'll meet you back up there in just a few moments. So I'm coming up to the other side, and I want to make sure that I go beyond on top of this other one. So if I was doing a complete square right now, if you look back where I was, is that you can see that I've now formed the final corner on this side. And so if I wanted a square, then this where I am right now would be the final square before quitting. The fact is that I want a banding so that it's going to go around the leg at this point. So I'm going to continue to always grow on this side of it, and it becomes very obvious once you start doing this. So your last one here, we're going to come into the last, and we want to again build another building block. So 1, 2, 3. So always on this side we're going to continue to build it and add more blocks so that we can go in a rectangular motion in order to go around. So let me start off the next round for you. So to continue on, so right now at the bottom here, we're no longer growing it down here. So when we come down the stairways, we're going to be stopping this block right here. We're no longer going to continue. So to start off, because we want to continue it going in the furthest direction like this, is that we're going to do our 6. So 1, 2, 3 and pinch, 4, 5 and 6. And right where I pinched is my first one. And the next 2 double crochets, and then we come in to the top here. So continue to crochet across the line up until you get to the point where you're right here, and I'll meet you back up there in just a moment. So we come back to the other side, and again we're no longer growing it on this side, so this is the last block. So 1, 2 and 3, finalizing off the last block together. So now I believe that I've got you on your way. So you'll just attach it to the top here, slip stitch it, and when you turn to begin again, you're just going to turn it and slip stitch it into the first 3 stitches. So 1 and 2 and 3, like so. And essentially what you want to do now is 1, 2 and 3, and begin again just immediately going up the block. So what I need you to do is that I need you to continue this configuration going in a complete rectangular shape, and this whole banding one is a little bit elastic, and what you need to do is just you need to wrap it around the top of your boot area of your feet now, or of your leg. What you should know is that when you're sitting down versus standing up, your leg is a different thickness, so I would recommend either stand up and measure around your leg or have a friend do it for you. And because this is elastic, just like so, you don't want it to do it so that the measurement that you get matches as completely. You want to do about 1 inch short so that you can have some stretching power. When we come back in a few moments, I'm going to be just crocheting this off camera and getting it ready, because I'll show you how to, once you get your length, how to then bring it to a close so that you have a complete band ready to go for the next part of this tutorial. And we're back, and due to the miracle of the internet, fast forward myself, I've got myself my band, and this is wrapping around my leg. And at this point now, I've determined that this is the last time we're gonna start growing out our project. I determined that this here, when I wrapped it around my leg, is the right distance to go around my leg, just like so. It's actually going around Daniel's leg, to be honest with you. So what we want to do is that when we go to finish this now, we're gonna start now bringing this triangle now into a final square, and so every row that we're gonna do is gonna get smaller and smaller. So this is how you would decrease on the other side, and again you can use these kind of tutorials to do afghans and etc. So we're immediately going to, we're not growing it on this side here, we're just immediately just starting up. And we're doing our 3 double crochets in. So every time you do a row at this point, the row is going to get smaller and smaller, and that's why people love to do afghans with this particular project, because once you get to the halfway point, every row gets smaller, therefore there's less work involved, and therefore you speed up. So it's like going up a hill for half of your afghan and then just flying down the hill for the next. So we're just continuing to crochet along. So the key thing right now is to make sure that this is gonna fit you when you go around. You will need a darning needle at the once we get this complete to be able to sew it together so you have a complete round, and then you'll want to test it on yourself to make sure that it's gonna be fine. Because it is sitting in your boot, in the top part of your boot, it's gonna be compressed to your leg anyway, but you obviously don't want it to be too big that it's being sloppy either, that it's gonna cause a crease within the material. So we're coming up, and so we're no longer gonna grow this now in the length. We're gonna stop it, so the next block is your final. So 1, 2, and 3. So now we're gonna start decreasing on both sides once we get this done. So on the final block here, we would have normally kept going and adding a block on top, but we don't want to. In this case we just want to slip stitch it in and turn your work. So you now can see that you're coming in across the top at this point, so we're gonna meet back in right where my fingers are touching. So essentially it's just, you already know what you have to do, so let me just get you started and you can finish off this on your own. Is that we're immediately going to single or slip stitch into the first, slip stitch into the second, and slip stitch it into the third, and then 1, 2, and 3, and you begin again. So that's how you do it. So just continue to go back and forth. Every side you're decreasing on both sides, and when we come back we'll be in the final corner, and then we're gonna have to bring it all together and then start the next process of this boot cuff. So I just have my last square to do, and 1, 2, 3, and then we're just gonna finish this up. And what we need to do is that we need to leave enough string on our material so that we can use that to be able to sew the two ends together. So we're just gonna come in out here, and what we need to do is that because we're ending here and not on a corner, I need you to turn the work before you do so and just come and slip stitch yourself to the very corner. So it's like you're about to start another round, just like this. And don't go into the final gap because it'll pull it apart, and just slip stitch it like this, and then grab your scissors and just leave enough yarn on there so you can whip stitch it on this edge with the two sides together. So we're just gonna slip on our darning needle to go through like so. And what I highly recommend, you could actually slip stitch yourself and just put it through this hook here. What I would recommend is that you could slip stitch all the way down through the side edge. The problem is that it's inside your boot, and if your slip stitching leaves a ridge, you're gonna actually feel that on the side of your leg. So just grabbing your material on both sides, just matching the stitches you know, for on both sides, and you just want to whip stitch going over. So just come around on one side, grab it to the other, and just continue to just take your time, enjoy the process, and this will bring both edges together. So when we come back, this will be together, and we're going to start the next part of this, and we're going to start on the bottom part first to get that finished, and then we'll start on the top part where we're going to do the nice rib stitching at that point. When you get all the way to the other side, just to fasten off, I just create a little quick little knot like this, and I do it twice. I just go in through a different spot like that. And what I want to do then, this is the seam edge, I'm just gonna feed in my loose end down through the seam line. And because you're using the same color yarn, it pretty well blends pretty good. So I'm just gonna go underneath my stitches, pull it through like so, pull on the slack, grab my scissors, and just simply trim. I also had the starting string that I did in the very beginning also underneath that as well, and voila. So there you have the outside. This is the inside of your cuff, now this is the outside, and now you'll have your beautiful seam line just like so. And now we're gonna begin to do the cuffing at the very bottom part, and so you can decide which is bottom and which is top at this point. It doesn't really matter to me really. Okay, to begin our next section we just want to do a slip knot to begin, and what we want to do is I'm gonna start at the seam line at the back, and I'm gonna do the bottom section. So I'm just gonna go into a stitching area just to get it started, and I want to take both of the strings on here, pull them through so we can really trap them in a position, and then I'm just gonna grab both of them again and just pull them through like that, and I'm gonna leave that straggler down on the line. And simply all I'm just gonna do at this point is that I'm gonna work my way across. Just look for the stitches to the best of your ability, and you will find your rhythm. It really will make a lot of sense just doing one single crochet. So here is your 3 in a row, so you'll want to go and just go in between them. You don't need to grab on the outside because you really can't see them, and just go in between the stitches. Now these ones here are lying on their side, and we know that coming up like this, so I would put 2 single crochets in that one, not 3. I would only put 2, and then again you're into the next group of 3. You can see them how they're facing up, so 1, 2, and 3, and there's the gapping space. So you just want to eye it up and make it look good. So here's the one lying on its side. Remember what I did before, I only put in 2 into that gapping space, and then here's your another group. So if you can just follow that same pattern going all the way around, you will be laughing and off to the races. And then here's there, and now we're on the ones lying on their side again. So continue that same idea going all the way around, and at the end we're gonna fasten off and call this side done, and this is the bottom, and this just makes the bottom edge a little more refined than just finishing it off and making it look like this. When you get all the way back around, I have no more spaces to go, so I'm just going to slip stitch to the beginning single crochet, and again I'm gonna take my darning needle, I'm gonna cut off enough material so I can run this through a darning needle. And I'm gonna this is an area that is on your body that is in high traffic mode, so you do want to take your time and actually finish it off properly, or you're gonna be in big trouble if the stitches are falling out, or if the yarn looks like it's falling out anyway, because people will notice. So just pulling up on the loop, just put the darning needle through just like so. So now what I want to do is just go across the stitches, just underside of them using the darning needle. Because I'm using the same color, the blue is kind of coming onto the needle, I can just take my time and actually just pull it through. So I go one direction, I go the second direction, and then I go a third, and that'll secure that loose end in permanently. And because you've gone 3 ways, like if it's gonna pull in one direction, it has to pull in all 3 at the same time, which is virtually impossible. So I'm gonna stretch it out and then trim this, and this is done. So now I want to move on to the next section. So this will be the bottom of my cuff, and you can see it looks a little more refined, or a lot more refined. And now we're gonna start with the ridging at the top of the cuff next. So we're now gonna work on the other side. So this is the bottom, now this is the top, and we're gonna create some ridges that are really desirable. And again, we would just want to create a slip knot to begin and insert it on the one side of the seam, just like you see. So let's pull that through. And so what we're gonna do now is that we're gonna half double crochet. So let's chain up 2 first, 1 and 2. See how I'm using both, because I really want to trap in that first string. Just like so. And now I want to go in. So just like we did with the single crochet in the row below, we just want to do the double crochet. So we just wrap and going in between the stitches again, and we're keeping everything, want to keep these stragglers in check. So keep them down so they get stuck underneath. So I'm pull through all 3 loops. So just like you did before. So it's just a matter of looking at what you did underneath. Just redo it on this side, because this is the corner to corner. What it looks like on the other side should look the same on this side as well. So now we're on the one that's on the side. So last time I was telling you to put 2 single crochets. This time it's 2 half doubles at this point, and now we're in between the stitches again. So we're just, there should be 4 in a row if you've done it right. So 1, 2, 3, and there's the last gap there in between. So when I was looking at the other side, it's like in groups of 4 immediately right here, and then the one lying on this side always has 2. So again, you have your 4 spaces here. So continue to do that all the way around. Be back up in a moment, move on to the next part. I'm now all the way back around, and now what I want to do is that I want to start doing a rib stitch. So the very first stitch, I don't want you to slip stitch, I just want you to come in behind the first post, just like so. And sorry, I want you to double crochet. So we're gonna wrap first, come around the post, just like so. Okay, so now the next post we want to come in from the back side. So we're gonna just come into the back, pop it through the front, and take the post back out to the back. This is a rib stitch. What this does is rib stitching provides contraction, and so then the next one we're gonna come in through the front, pop it out, and we're just wrapping around the posts. Okay, so the next one is in behind. So you just want to go every other stitch, either grabbing it from the back of the post or from the front. So this is a front post, so we're gonna come in through the front, pop it. Okay, and the next one is from the back. So we're gonna wrap it, come in through the back, pop it through the front, and then back. And this is how you do basket weaving and etc. So if you're interested, so continue to do that all the way around. Just going back and forth like so, and we'll meet it back up in the next round, and we'll start the next one. So do double crochet. This is called back post double crochet and front post double crochet. So I've now come all the way back around, and now what I want to pay attention here is that you want to make sure that your ridges stay in alignment with each other. So we're not going to be slip stitching and all to move up. We're going to go in a continuous round. But so I'm here on the back here. I have one more, and then this one is the start of my front on the other side. So what I would do, because I don't want to mess up with my ridges, what I want to do is that I want to come in through the front side, go in through the first one and the second, and I can bring those together. Just like so. So if you ended up with that situation, nobody's going to be able to really tell. So when we start this round, and I need you to go around 2 more rows and then we're done this project for today, is that we're going to come around. So you will know which one's in their back because this one is sunken in behind. So I want you to continue to grab it from behind to keep those ridges going up on the same side. Okay, this one is in the front, so I'm going to come in the front. Once you have that first row established, this row is very simple because you can see what it is, and the ridges are sticking out very easily for you to be able to stick in your hook. So continue to go around 2 more times, and then when we come back we're going to fasten this off and call this tutorial quits for today. Off camera I've done my 2 rows of rib stitching and you can see it's going around, and all I want to do now is that I'm going to go the final time around and I just want to do a half double crochet in. So basically I just wanted to make it look like it's a refined edge more than just leaving it just the way it is right now. So just finish it off going around a half double crochet. We'll meet back up in the few stitches right beforehand before we finish off, and then we will fasten off and call this tutorial quits then for today. On the final 3 stitches we've been doing half double crochet. So on the final third one from the last we're gonna do single crochet. The second one in we're gonna do single crochet, and then we are going to do a slip stitch into the last stitch that's available, and then a slip stitch into the final, just like so. And just how I weaved in off the ends, we just want to take a darning needle and just finish this off just perfectly. So leave enough material onto your project. I'm grabbing my needle. You want to insert your darning needle in and just pulling up on the loop, just put this through. Pulling it through just like so. And so now what I want to do is just come into the top edge and just kind of put my darning needle in through the stitches. The white is the same color, so I can go as far as the white before changing over to the red, before it will actually look like I've actually done this. So I'm going to go over. See how I'm pulling the slack. I'm going to go back in, but I'm going to go in through a different space. Just like so. And again I'm going to pull on it, and then I'm going to go back one more time. It's the 3rd time, and this will prevent any of the loose tails from falling out of your work. Just like this. So I'm just stretching it to make sure I've got the maximum pull on it, so if somebody's pulling it onto their leg. And now I can just safely trim it. I almost trimmed the wrong one. And here we go, and this will be the conclusion of doing your boot cuffs, and these will just ride nicely in the inside of your boot and looking like that you're wearing an entire sock with your project. Till next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd. We'll see you next time as we have more fabulous free tutorials available to you. Until then, bye bye.